owns the intellectual property. What's remarkable, and I've said this before in a public forum, and I don't mind saying it again, we coordinate a European network of 11 partner groups in scanning probe microscopy. Amongst them is the IBM Research Group at Zurich Labs. Or the IBM Zurich Labs Research Group. So getting them involved within this network, we had to have a consortium agreement. And the issue that I found remarkable is that IBM, because normally what's happened is that industry is painted as the bad guy. Industry is, always want to rip the intellectual property. IBM said, look, this is basic research. It's unlikely to have any sort of impact on our products in the near term or even the relatively far term. We just put it out there. We're happy enough just in terms of the intellectual property, just publish. We're now in a situation where it was the universities who said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to get as much commercial value from the intellectual property. And we've been driven along those lines because the problem is, it's in the UK, for example, and it's particularly in the context of commercial, industrial versus academic, or public funding in the UK, it's fascinating. The industry for many, many years, if you look at the amount of funding that industry is putting into R&D, it's dropping off. And it's interesting. It wasn't like at 2008, there was a big dip. It's just been linearly dropping down to the point where in terms of private investment in R&D in the UK, that's one of the very lowest in terms of, the OECD. And what's happening, therefore, is that because industry isn't putting that money in, universities are expected to pick up the slack. So what's happening an awful lot is that departments are turning into the R&D wing of a corporation or a company. Not all the time. I'm not suggesting that this is right across the board, but there is a general evolution towards doing much more applied, much more near-term, much more near-market research. And again, I want to stress, because I've had this battle for the last 5 years, and I've had debates and arguments, it's not the case that you can't get fundamental research that doesn't have a near-market application attached to it funded. That does happen, but the general trend is towards much more near-market, near-term.